Private sector is collaborating with governments to build cyber capabilities and sometimes foreign governments as well. So in some sense, who is your adversary and what is this capability vis-a-vis your own is blurry. And many times when you deploy cyber weapons, you add to the adversary's capabilities.
I want to come back to this question around the looking at this kind of wide range of threats, challenges that we're facing, and dig in particularly into some of the geopolitical, geoeconomic elements of this. The World Economic Forum publishes a global cybersecurity outlook every January. And our most recent report highlighted that 60% of organizations have adapted their cybersecurity strategies due to geopolitical pressures, right? So they've rethought their strategy, not just on supply chain, not just on manufacturing, but their cybersecurity strategy as a result of geopolitical pressure, adjusting operations, sometimes halting or changing operations in different regions, and changing vendors in other cases. So as we look into a year that continues to be tumultuous, I'd be curious to maybe start with you, Samir. How do you see kind of these geopolitical, geoeconomic tensions playing out in the cybersecurity domain in the year and the next few years ahead?
That's a very big topic, but let me just try and give you a few trends. The first, of course, is because of the heightened geopolitical tensions around the world, and literally conflicts now proliferate across the globe. The demand for cyber capabilities is an all-time high. And there is also, unfortunately, a public-private model that is in many ways being incubated because of this demand. Private sector is collaborating with governments to build cyber capabilities and sometimes foreign governments as well. So in some sense, who is your adversary and what is this capability vis-a-vis your own is blurry. And many times when you deploy cyber weapons, you add to the adversary's capabilities. So in many ways, the deployment of cyber weapons and cyber capabilities is creating a zero-sum spiral to the bottom. But that is the mood we are in. And because of the higher threshold for violence that we all see around the world, and therefore the disturbance to the escalation ladder, we believe increasingly governments view cyber weapons and cyber attacks as a legitimate, informal, quasi-vector to deploy with impunity. I think that's the first geopolitical outcome. The second, increasingly, is also that we have seen some inadvertent consequences of decoupling. And you were mentioning that how companies are reshifting their operations, moving out of certain geographies, moving away from certain vendors. What we are left with is that one part of the world is very familiar with the other part of the world, but that other part of the world that is decoupled does not have the same granular and intimate insight into the operating systems of the part that they have decoupled with, which means that deterrence has changed dramatically, which means that the part of the world that decided to decouple, say the US-based system, is today far more susceptible to adversarial impacts than the Chinese systems, of which very few countries have intimate knowledge. And I think there is an asymmetry because of this geopolitical fragmentation or the economic decoupling. And of course, the third is the big trend, the big shift, the big buzzword is AI. And for me, AI is means everything and nothing at the same time, right? But all I can tell you is this, that as someone mentioned in a room we were in, which is true, that AI has increased the attack surface and the attack capabilities multifold. Has AI increased our defense capabilities and our ability to defend in the same ratio? And I think that's the point, because now you have taken away a big market shaper from the picture, which I was talking to someone sitting here earlier, that if the risk insurance markets are not able to factor in the implications of AI on the capacity of an organization or a country to defend itself, how is that sector going to evolve in the absence? Already the cybersecurity insurance market was so frail because there is no taxonomy, there is no agreed literature that allows us to price risk. But now with AI, you've added a layer of complexity which drives out these actors from shaping behavior. So now you have actually folks who see attack as the only form of cyber stability and capability, which makes it a dangerous battlefield to play. We are now already in an age where we have to move from permissions to trust. That concept of zero trust is gone, where you had automated authentication privileges given to certain employees at certain levels, and the value chain would sort out the access, and also you would find the rotten apples. Now, when identity can be manipulated using all sorts of tools available, and authentication is no longer the basis of trust, then organizations really need to rethink what trust means in this age. And how do you build a culture where employee participation through the process is central to a safe organization and a safe country, by the way.
Okay, we started off with geopolitics, right? So does your cloud provider need to be Argentine, Latin America? Are there, how do you think about that? Because we see increasingly it was taken for granted, but recent decisions and different things have led people to say, oh, wow, maybe I need my own data sovereignty, cyber sovereignty, et cetera. How do you approach that?
Hi, I'm Larry Clinton. I'm with the Internet Security Alliance, and I am a very optimistic person by nature. But I'm afraid I really need to challenge the panel's excessive optimism with respect to where we are in cybersecurity. We're getting killed out there. Things are getting worse and worse and worse. The bad guys are in our critical infrastructure. We can't get them out. We're suffering hundreds of millions of attacks a day. We're losing trillions of dollars. I think there's some good ideas. I'm not saying there aren't any opportunities, but I have to wonder whether or not the temptation to sound positive is blinding us to the fact that we are losing this fight, and we are losing this fight badly and have been for quite a while. I'm in favor of changing the incentives for small companies. We have an anti-tax administration in the United States Congress. Where's the tax credit for small companies to cybersecurity? We can't even get the 2015 Act, which is everybody loves, reauthorized. That's nothing.
Yeah.
We are not accomplishing nearly as much as we need to. I would like to hear a little bit more about how we are going to change the narrative and bring more people to the cybersecurity community to kind of get us over the line, because I'm afraid I don't share the optimism for where we're going. I think things are going to continue.
Okay, we're going to use that question to give everyone one last response.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in.
He's challenging us, right? We're saying we're using life jackets.
But I think, look, some of your challenge is colored by what's happening in your part of the woods. And maybe that's also, in a sense, infecting your optimism on what could be done together. Because it's a big challenge right now, what you're experiencing, a big disruption, political disruption. But let me respond to you. One, I think we all agree that we are facing significant headwinds, and some are really harmful and perhaps most consequential for the weakest, and that's a given. And I don't think that's gone away. Now, the question is, are we going to be able to do the three things that we've all spoken about separately, or perhaps even collectively? One, can we build those arenas, like the cyber arenas, at a scale? Can we operationalize them at a scale where we are able to bring and build a community of actors who are empowered to respond? Because like we said, cybersecurity is a collective act. It cannot be managed by a single country or a single agency or a single institution. And hence we need more people on the job. And we haven't built a business case for building that community that is going to help all of us prevent the value of cyber impacts to be the third largest country in the world, or something that your report says. In GDP terms, it's the third largest country if we were to calculate it. So it's in all of our interest to invest in a community that can defend, right? So like I said, defense, dominant and low cost, and hence everyone participates. Second, we spoke about the laws that you were talking about, getting some benefits and creating incentives. Look, we have to create incentives which are global. I think the incentives within the US or within Argentina or within a country are no good. You are as weak as the weakest link, right? So in that sense, what are the global incentives? And here the political mood is going to make it difficult. And the third and the final one, of course, I think emerging technologies, Joe mentioned, hypercomputing and AI can actually bring to scale the first two that I'm talking about. You can bring communities to play, you can train them, you can actually organize them, you can empower them with hypercompute, courtesy quantum, and I can see someone sitting here who works on that. Hypercompute, plus AI, it creates a whole new landscape. Optimism is not about where we are. Optimism is about where we may be. And I think that's where we are headed.